Okay, welcome to the Political Paradigm Shift podcast. This is our post-Halloween pre-election special episode. As you can see, all of us are dressed up in our wonderful outfits. And so tonight we have Christina and Mark.
Nobody under 35 will get us at all.
Heather and Afra. And we will have Chuck coming right now, as a matter of fact. Okay, yeah. So tonight we're going to cover, obviously, the election. Oh.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that is a thing.
I definitely
what is happening here?
That is awesome.
Show us your sticker.
I got this on my shirt. You can't really see it, but in thinking of Afra, she always likes. She gets mad sometimes when you can't see the clever T-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I couldn't come up with a good one, so I just figured I'd put this
clever
on this,
T-shirt.
And I did do Afra's lipstick.
So you're me today. I feel so like my heart is.
You needed to put Afra as your name.
Yes.
If I'd have thought about that, I'd have done that. That would have been cool.
This is fantastic. I can't.
This was for you, Afra.
That's so good.
I'm just so honored, and you look fabulous. I have to
thank
say.
you.
You nailed it. Nailed it.
Yeah. There are confused boners everywhere right now. I'm pretty sure.
I definitely was not expecting that.
No. Why would you?
No.
Why would you have expected that?
Really, I haven't done anything to suggest this might be within the realm of.
Nope. You really didn't.
mean, the only thing that might have been better would have been to come as art.
Yeah, which would have involved a lot of shaving.
Yes,
A lot of shaving.
You're still
my unicorn outfit. Could have used a unicorn.
I love it. You're the best.
Nick, how do you even talk in those things?
It's actually not bad. It's not like a tooth mouth thing. It's just two teeth.
Can you do Peter Piper, pick to peck, and pickle peppers?
I can do the whole spiel.
He's going to be performing the entire thing.
Heather, what are you?
Two teeth.
Heather, can you hear me?
What? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Heather's communicating from beyond.
Sugar skull stuff.
So you're like a dead person?
Well,
Sure.
don't label her.
It's makeup, yeah.
How dare you judge her life status?
Like
Thank you.
So
She identifies as alive.
Yeah,
there you go.
I think she's having some internet issues.
she is.
I am. I'm trying to figure some stuff out while we're on.
It's all good.
Sorry.
It's all good. So Chuck, I was just telling them, obviously we're going to talk about the election. It's hard to take you seriously.
I'm super riveted
Obviously-
to Chuck's picture right now. I can't look away.
I don't know that I ever make good points. It's going to be very difficult to make
It's
good
kind of like Sasquatch and
You
drag.
got me out of this.
So, Mrs. Sasquatch, how do you feel about
I was thinking
Trump's chance?
Very tasteful lipstick is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I
It's
thought
perfect.
it's very restrained. It was good. It's a good color for you.
I think.
You did a nice red lip. I like that. That's good.
My wife got the blue eyeshadow. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How freaked out is she right now?
Yeah, it was weird. I said,
A strange night.
Heather, you're gonna give me a makeover Sunday. It was a long pause, and she said, "I assume there's a reason." Yeah. Let me explain some, honey.
Oh no! Don't explain anything. Just leave it laying there. I like it.
Nice to
looks
have
good.
mystery in marriage, huh?
So I just wanted to talk about the election and just various things that are on people's mind. My assumption is there's more than one of us that are sort of anxious about what's going to happen, even if you don't really care about the outcome of the election specifically. There's some sort of anxiety around what's going to happen as a result of the election too, or during election day. And I think we've seen a little bit of that today, where the Trump people blocking the highway in New York and New Jersey. I'm not entirely sure what their purpose is. Do you guys know why they're doing it besides is there a protest? Because that's a protest thing, right?
Well, it's been kind of like building to this for a little while with the caravans and the boat parades and things. And I don't entirely understand the purpose of those either. So, I mean, maybe this is just like more people, so there's more congestion. Are they like, I'm missing, I think, part of the story. Are they purposely blocking the highway?
See,
Or is it just
I
like
don't
a
know
ton
that
of
either.
them now?
I have a
don't know if
theory.
it's like a protest thing or if it's like a celebration, I guess. But it's kind of a bad place to celebrate, right?
My theory is they're just being dicks. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's the most obvious.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're good at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as it stands right now, in the 538 forecast, Trump has a 10% chance of winning, and Biden has a 90% chance of winning. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this, but I've been obsessed for
Could not tell, Nick.
My wife can definitely tell. Not happy.
Oh no, poor Ashley.
Yes.
Poor thing.
She's like,
so in any event, after sort of evaluating all of the polls, evaluating all of the states, it's unlikely that Trump's going to win, but it's very plausible that he could pull it off, and it could happen and unravel really quickly. And the way that happens is he overperforms by maybe 5 or 6 percentage points, which isn't unheard of. It's definitely happened before.
Asking a lot across the board, Nick.
Well, so think about it like this. He's down about 2 points in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, 3 points in Arizona, and around 4.9 points in Pennsylvania. And he's probably out of range in Wisconsin and Michigan, although I guess there could be like a massive polling error there that we've never seen before. But if not, it's not unthinkable that he wins Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. In fact, I would actually say that I expect him to, right? Because those places are historically polled poorly and tend to favor Republicans. I think we saw this in 2018, where you had Gillum ahead by like 4 to 6 points, right? And so Nelson was too. So it happened with both of them in a year where Democrats destroyed Republicans in virtually every other race, right? Close race. So I can see something sort of unraveling where he gets all of those states. This is why Pennsylvania is so important. And the reason I'm sort of nervous about Pennsylvania is because he's only behind like under 5 points on average. And that's a little bit over the margin of error. And plus he's been to Pennsylvania 7 times. I don't know if you guys saw the rally he had yesterday. It was massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
But don't get sucked into the rallies.
So I understand that there's not necessarily a relationship between them, but it certainly shows some enthusiasm, if anything. It shows that people are still excited about him. And the thing that happened in Pennsylvania, where people came out in like unprecedented numbers in 2016 from the rural areas, and Clinton underperformed in the cities, but it's not. I don't think it's as unlikely as people are making it. That said, there's a lot of stuff he has to do in order to get there. And
Pennsylvania is just one piece, yeah.
he could win Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, and then Biden could still win Nebraska 2, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and I believe still win. So that it's not impossible after that. And it looks like Iowa and Ohio are going to Trump, though. I mean, and Texas. However, the flip side of that is the polling error could be in the opposite direction, and the pollsters could be overcorrecting from 2016, which is something that lots of people are talking about. And it could be a massive wave where Texas gets picked up, Ohio, Iowa go Democrat. So please share your hopes and fears. We'll kind of go around the room and see what everybody's thinking and feeling. I know, like I said before, some people care more than others. So we'll start with the dynamic duo. I know who Ferris Bueller is. I have no idea who Sloan Peterson is.
Sloan Peterson was the girl he was hanging with that day.
His girl, yeah.
Who was the actress?
Mia Sara.
Mia Sara.
I thought it was
I'm
somebody
definitely
else.
not doing her justice. but-
Also, she was in
You look
Legend.
perfect.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she was in Legend.
Perfect.
Legend. I don't know what that is.
Tom
Costume
Cruise.
is very good
vehicle.
too, Ashley.
Oh,
I
the
just
Demon
wanted
Devil
everyone to know.
movie?
That's right. Tim Curry. Yes, that's right.
Tom Cruise is like 5 years old.
Yeah.
About that. Yeah. He was 5.
Still a Scientologist,
All
though.
right. Do you want to go?
No, you go first.
All right. So I'm now pinning all my hopes on Georgia. Because
Interesting.
if Biden wins Georgia, I think
It's done for Trump.
Trump's chances plummet below 1%.
You're right.
So Biden has like a 50-something% chance right now to win Georgia, slightly more than Trump. So yeah, that's where I'm rolling my Dungeons and Dragons dice is on Georgia.
Mine is still on Pennsylvania. We just did a trip up through the Southeast. There's a lot of support for Trump all along the highways. And where we were in Pennsylvania, very heavy Trump signs. We weren't in big cities, so to be fair. But Mark and I were talking about the Georgia thing, and I think that's going to be one of the key components. Pennsylvania is still. I think he can take Pennsylvania, and if that happens, and he takes Florida and all of the rest, then what? We've got him for another 4 years.
That would be bad.
So you guys are kind of feeling me on the Pennsylvania thing.
A little bit.
I don't know that I am.
I am.
Yeah. I think that
Not
the
Mark.
turnout for Philadelphia has been seems to be pretty ginormous. We'll see, but I think they had something like as many absentee ballots cast in Philadelphia as they had actual ballots cast in 2016 or something. Not even.
Well, that's
like
a really
that.
good sign. It's a really
Yeah,
good
so that's where I'm putting my hope is. I mean, you're always getting. So we were out in the western suburbs, and those on the main line, and those are, high income white. Where you're likely to see. Plus, I think people are more likely to put up a Trump sign than they are a Biden sign.
They are.
I think just
Very true.
psychologically, you know what I mean?
Oh, I see
wonder
what
why
you
that is. I've heard a lot of people say that, and I just always struck me as, and I guess I understand the pollsters called it the enthusiasm gap. That you, I'll vote for Biden, but I'm not going to make too big a deal of it. Those who are voting for Trump tend to make a big deal of it. I mean, now their votes count.
Yeah.
One of the
But
same.
plus, if you're building a cult of personality, are you going to start with Joe Biden? Probably not.
But I mean, here's the thing. If you have any kind of sense and all you're trying to do is say, I don't know, hold on to your court seats and I just keep it conservative for the next 4 years, I'm going to keep that on the down low. I'm not going to put a sign out at all. So I just feel like, I don't know if that's a really good judge.
I mean, his Trumps. Yeah, his supporters are enthusiastic, but not a majority. That's my general feeling.
Well, as we found out, they don't have to necessarily be a majority. They just have to be a majority in the right
And
places. And that's what makes us obsess so much.
And one more thing I want to add is Wisconsin. I hope that the polls are right and that it's going for Biden.
He has
But
zero
if you
chance
guys,
of winning Wisconsin.
if you guys remember who just said about Trump was making these visits? That's how he won Wisconsin the last time. He like
He is, so the thing about Wisconsin,
But
he's
Clinton
way
didn't go
far
there.
behind, but still. I don't
So
know.
Clinton
I
didn't
can
go there.
imagine Wisconsin going for Trump last time.
Yeah.
so
I
Clinton
don't
didn't go
think he
there,
has
number
much of a
one.
new strategy.
And number two,
that?
they have a huge COVID outbreak there. And his
Yes.
numbers aren't just bad, they're super bad. Like he's down, in one poll,
Yes.
he was down 17 points.
Zero
He's polling
chance.
in Michigan, Wisconsin, and that's an outlier. There's no way he's going to lose by that. But in Michigan, Wisconsin, and are polling as good as Minnesota right now. I mean, they're all pretty much on the same level. All I'm saying is he could win all of them, but it would be just the most massive. I mean, they would have to just completely redo polling, how they do polling, because it would just be an obnoxious era. So
I mean, can you imagine how they'd all feel?
yeah,
Which might be why we're seeing some pause with some of the bigger pollsters. Why they're saying don't be overly confident. There is still a pathway.
Well, they're just
Imagine-
smarting from 2016.
I gotta say, good one, Ferris. The fact that 2016 went as it did. The thing was, I guess in 2016, as we look at it in hindsight, and I'll never forget this on election night. You go in thinking about a few of the key states and say, okay, that was a 2 to 4% state. That was a 3 to 5%. Early on in the first hour Eastern time, after the Eastern polls closed and the reports began coming in, Trump was very early polling about 3 to 5% higher in every single state. It was uniform. And
that's how it works.
And it continued for a while. And I thought, damn, if it's 3 to 5% across the board, he might win this fucking thing. And, it turned out he did. But they were off, but they were all off by about the same, more or less. And that's what freaked me out in 2016.
Who was the guy who did
in
this?
2020? It'd have to be more, but still,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see that happening 2 cycles in a row, can it?
Who was the guy who did the CNN map live on election night 4 years ago? Do anybody know the name of that reporter?
The
That
CNN map?
Yeah, the CNN guy.
Was it John King?
I don't
I
remember.
don't
his
know.
name.
It's the
I
guy
know
with the
you're talking about,
giant,
I can see him, yeah.
giant Easter Island head.
Papooey.
But anyway, he was actually, I mean, to give him some credit, he was actually, he's like, hey guys, this is happening, and he saw the same thing you did, Chuck, which is like, these are not, this is not how the polls were, but here's what's happening for real on the ground. And of course, talking about the specific counties where, those are bellwether, whatever. And, he saw it pretty early on that, this thing was not going according to.
Oh, it was Dave Wasserman, probably.
Maybe, I don't know. I would recognize him if I see him, but giant Easter Island head guy. I don't know how you don't know who that is.
I don't know what the
Google
size
this
of his
Easter
head is.
Island head guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move over to Ashley. You're on. You can unmute. What is your
Costume, by the
feelings
way,
on the
Ashley.
election?
No one has said this yet, but Ashley, very good on the costume.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Oh,
it.
Christina.
I did. I complimented her.
Okay.
It was
It
before
was
you
prior
got
to
here.
your arrival.
You need more lipstick. That's it. I mean, come on.
A little brighter next time.
I love the
gotcha.
necklace, Ashley.
Thank you.
Afro will back me up on this.
Usually I go for hot pink, but it
Now,
didn't match.
yeah, I was gonna say, color-wise, let's compare Chuck and Ashley. I mean, she went a little darker than you, bro. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that.
A little
She's a
bit.
sorcerer.
Yeah, she is.
Anyway, so my election take, I can't wait for Wednesday because someone, I'm not mentioning any names that I live with, it's been a real pleasure
The cat.
for the past few days, and it's only gonna get better. Anywho, so in light of that, in all honesty, I did not follow much in 2016. I kind of washed my hands and I was like, nope, I'm not getting involved. Don't want to be involved. Whatever happens, happens. Prayed that it didn't happen. It happened, whatever. I'm kind of in the same boat this time. My my view is, all right, well, we already survived 4 years. If we have to endure another 4, well, that's it. We're done after that. I mean, it's not ever going to happen again. So there's that to look forward to if it does happen. But I think that
He has kids.
yeah, that's true. All right, fine.
I think his son is really addicted to cocaine. But go ahead.
Okay.
Dangerous, yeah.
That's a professional assessment. No, never mind. Sorry, that's not. Sorry.
It's professional.
Allegedly. There we go.
Allegedly. You have to say allegedly because we're actually, going to post this on media.
I
So.
mean, we're pretty big stuff right now. So
That's it. We gotta watch our back.
His jaw was moving all around. So he's on some sort of stimulant. I'm going to tell you right now.
do you have a preference, Ashley, or a prediction? Bring the
I
cat
have
in?
a preference, yes. I don't have a prediction. My preference is Biden for a couple of different reasons. I think that, and I've said this before to various people, I don't necessarily disagree with everything that Trump has been doing in terms of policies and such. I just don't agree with him as a person and the way that he presents himself. If he was not so uncouth, I wouldn't have such an issue with him. And the way that he kind of is this weird, like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain like his persona, but it's strange, it's inappropriate, it's not necessary, and it's not presidential. And I don't know if that's what America wants because they're kind of sick of the whole presidential thing, and maybe that's the appeal.
Why do you think he appeals to your dad?
I was just gonna say that.
So Ashley's dad came over our house the other day. I'm eating dinner. He just sits down.
This was not the other day. This was like a year ago.
Not a year ago.
Well, that is the other day.
Oh my God.
It is other.
It's all
Not
blended
today.
together in
It
Nick's
wasn't. It
world.
wasn't that long ago.
Look
It
at
must
all
have
the
been.
husbands chiming in.
But this,
was
he,
a while
he sits
ago.
down and he just starts going off. He's never talked to me about politics. He just starts going off about the Democrats, and he sounded like he had been watching Sean Hannity all night.
Can you say he sits down again for me real quick?
Ashley, how well did how well did he bite his tongue? Let me ask you that. How well did Nick bite his tongue?
He does really well when it comes to my father, actually.
Good job,
Probably
Nick.
smart.
Yeah.
Good job.
Deference to your elders, yeah.
In regards to the rest of my family,
Not as well.
not as well. However, behind closed doors, it's much worse. In front of them to their face, he's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
But
Hey, Nick, can I give you a hint? Don't call them white nationalists. Just saying.
Stop.
Ever.
I don't know. I think that my
Gotta
my
blush over
dad's
here.
view is very narrow in terms of he is a very small town, rural. He owns his own construction business. He obviously that's his life. That's what he sees. He sees taxes. He sees what he's his own little bubble. And I think that's the same for a lot of these people that support Trump. It's like they see it from their own little bubble and they can't really see much beyond that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the small town rural people that support him is that's where they're coming from. They're looking at their own individual situations, which is what we all do, honestly. But that's why it's appealing to these small town folks.
It's almost
especially
like
those
everybody
that
isn't a political
businesses,
nerd
they're
like we are.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you, Ashley. If you're comfortable answering it, please do.
Even if you're not, super
no,
answer it.
totally okay. Don't
Bring it.
answer. Which of his policies were you okay with?
I don't know if it's anything like specific per se. I guess just kind of not the big ones, not the ones that he like touts across the world. Yes, not,
Right,
not
no, so
build
but
the wall.
I'm actually okay with like monitoring border crossing. I mean, I think you have to be judicious about how you're doing that. I don't think you take kids and put them in cages and away from their parents and things like that. But I think that it's important to look at
Narrator, every single president has done this for 45 years.
Put kids in cages?
No, well,
Cages
Obama
were
put kids in
put there by
cages
Obama.
if that's what you're
They
looking
were
for.
Obama's cages.
If you're looking for kids in cages, Obama's got you.
All right. But so like, for instance, for me, Ashley, that was one that I was like, oh, okay, like build a wall. That's metaphorical. He's not really going to do that.
Right.
But that's like his signal for making sure that immigration is done legally.
Right.
So
And
I was kind
I
of
also
like,
agree
okay,
with,
that's okay.
right. And I also agree with trying to bring more manufacturing and more of
Mhm.
those types of things back to the US as opposed to outsourcing for everything. I agree with that as well. I think that that's important. And obviously there's a lot of other issues that come with that. And that's not necessarily something that's an easy fix. And
Right.
there's a lot that's going to have to happen in order for us to get back to that, because obviously it's cheaper. It's cheaper to go across, I don't know, international waters and go in other places. And it's been done that way for so long. And we've built those relationships with other countries that's become the way it is, I guess. And to kind of go back to how it
But short term.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and
Long
Christina's
term is
an
that-
expert in this, but if you want to see why, your prices are so low at the grocery store, that's why.
For produce.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
And Americans love low prices.
Okay. So,
Another consumer nation.
Afra, are you there?
Yes. I'm sorry. Her.
Afra 2.
You're gonna
Afra
have
2,
to,
are you there?
After
You're
Chuck,
gonna have to be more specific tonight.
I think so.
Afra too.
Afra with the
After with a fierce veil.
I wish Chuck had a
Yes.
veil, 100%.
Afra in the veil. If we would have coordinated this, it could have been.
Oh.
Yeah.
better. I'm just
It's
saying,
worth it
next
just
year,
to see the
Chuck.
surprise on your face.
It was so good. It was so good. I am speechless. I have honestly nothing to say. Yeah, I agree with Ashley on a couple of things. First, I don't have any predictions. I have a lot of respect for those of you who are able to follow not only the polling as it has been, over the past decade, but also all of the other sort of exigencies that have come up in terms of early voting. And I don't think that I could possibly have the stamina to keep up with that. And I also decided after 2016 that I wasn't going to make any predictions at all, which is, I think, in large part a product of my loss of losing my voice, and also loss of any sort of faith in the electorate. Not polls. Like, I will say I have not lost my faith in polls, but just in what people are going to do and how they're going to make their choices. Like, I just don't know. But, another thing that Ashley mentioned that I wanted to amplify is this idea of the way that Trump might have good policies for some people, not so much for me. Most of what he's very open about, I dislike. But I think that people are creating this sort of binary between how he behaves and what he does, as though those things are not, as though they don't have anything to do with one another, and as though, like, if you could accept one of them, you could ride along kind of scot-free on the other one. And I really, really disagree with that. I think that politics is downhill from discourse, and the way that people talk about others, whether they be undocumented immigrants or liberals or other, even Lindsey Graham is getting shit and stuff like that from Trump and his campaign. All of that flows down into policy, and it might not be 2020 policy. It might not have been 2016 policy, but if the rhetoric and the discourse keeps on that level, you're talking about people who will eventually get hurt. Because it's the way that we think about things, it's the language we use to think about things that eventually turns into what we will accept as a society as being moral or politically correct or whatever. So he could be he could be saying, and I honestly believe this, he could be saying all of the things that I want. He could be planning all of the things that I want. But if he did it in the manner that he's doing it now, it would be in a way that has ramifications for the future of how people are treated. And there's a whole lot of division. There's a whole lot of callousness towards other people's lives that I think is coming from, and that's why I don't like that Democrats don't fight as dirty, right? But also kind of in a way that like I do, because I don't want to contribute to that. I don't want to add my name to that. So I can't make any predictions for what's going to happen. I have very little faith in Florida. Sorry, Mark and Christina.
It's cool. We don't
I
know.
have very little faith in Florida.
It's a lawless state.
I think Florida is a lost cause.
I feel so bad for you guys, man. I don't know how you do it.
Florida man is a trope for a reason. I mean,
girl, let me tell you, it's a lot of wine.
Yeah.
Right here.
Plus, we have really nice beaches. So,
Sure.
But Afra, in 2016, I actually predicted that fewer educated people would make predictions. So, thank you.
Okay.
I'm on point now.
Right. I'm glad.
Smart thing to do, yeah.
I mean, that's all I have to say. I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is it's terrifying, but I'm resigned to the fact that it can't be more shocking than it was in 2016, whatever it is that happens. But I do really think, I know most of you in this Zoom chat agree with me, but to anybody who might be watching, there is no clear division between the way that someone talks about other humans and other Americans and what policy and law will eventually be. All right, these things flow from one another, and the wall and stuff like that. I thought it was a metaphor too, and a joke and a campaign slogan. But I mean, he was like kind of on that shit for a while. Like he's like, we're gonna do everything to get this Bronze Age technology will save us all. Like I mean,
but see,
hopefully they don't get catapults or something. Jesus Christ.
His followers are, some of them, a few of them, are actually able to,
two of them,
do that, to say, oh, he's not really being serious. He's speaking metaphorically, and that's the metaphor that resonates with us, right?
And
so that makes it okay to them.
He should have run with that. He should have gone with
but
that. But instead he was like,
Afra.
no, these people want me to build a wall, so I really have to try. Like he could have
So I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
narrator,
and then that was
they like the white nationalism.
A massive
Oh my
failure.
God, can we please?
That reminds me, he has declared November 1st, which is the first day of Dia de los Muertos, which is a big holiday celebrated in
Which
Mexico.
is today.
Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, yeah.
Yes. So he declared today the national holiday for Afra. Do you remember you mentioned it the other day? I don't want to word it incorrectly.
Yes, the Remembrance of Americans Who Have Been Killed by Illegal Aliens Day.
Yes. So when I looked that up, apparently there's a very large group that has been pushing for the remembrance of people who have been killed by illegal immigrants for a very long time. Since like 2015, I found an article all the way back. And
is he going after the self-hating Hispanic vote? I mean, what is he doing?
I mean, what is happening right now?
The fact that he made it today of all days.
Yeah, that's the thing. It could have been any day except for today.
Fucking dick.
It's
Or
Stephen
Cinco de Mayo.
Miller.
Today.
Or Cinco de Mayo, yeah.
This
He's
is
a
what
terrible
Trump does.
human being.
He'll hide behind, oh, well, it wasn't significant because it's Dia de los Muertos, a big national holiday or something celebrated by the Hispanic or Mexican community. He will hide behind the fact that it's just a random day that he picked or that it needed to be done. You know what I mean? So he'll give you some half-ass, answer that probably isn't true.
Is there anybody in his crew who's saying, hey, Mr. President?
Not a good idea.
I think all those people are gone. I think
what adults are left in his crew?
Who are around him?
None. I mean, there are sycophants and ideologues, like racist ideologues. There's nobody else left.
All right, but Ashley brings up a good point, which is how many of us, okay, let's say the worst thing that happens is that he gets elected again. What happens? What's the worst thing that happens? I mean, he's going to take us down a terrible path.
I super disagree. There's no lasting effect.
You're right in the sense that the way that he talks about people filters down and spreads out like some kind of virus, which is, you know, obviously ironic.
Ironic, yeah.
But in 4 years, he's done.
I disagree. I think I think there are lasting effects.
Think you're
Never
wrong.
disagree with me.
Well,
I think
In
there's already
public.
going to be
I
lasting
didn't get the
effects.
memo. Yeah.
And I think that we see more people try to step up and be sort of in his shoes or from his path. I mean, look what Bernie Sanders did, for instance. And then you have this whole rise of like the Squad and a whole bunch of other smaller seats won by progressives and stuff. So like that's not going away. And I really don't see Trump's legacy going away. The disinformation is going to be extremely hard to pierce. And unfortunately, there's a lot of media outlets, big and small, that are really capitalizing on that right now. And I just don't see that going away, whether Trump wins or not.
So I think what it does is it
Challenge for Biden.
reaffirms Trumpism. It puts Trump into a second term where he doesn't feel any need to appease anyone anymore, right? Because he doesn't need to get elected again. So it's like sort of Trump on steroids with nobody surrounding him that's going to
Plus the next Republican candidate,
right direction.
Tom Cotton or whoever.
And then if
No.
you guys remember from like before the
The
election,
guy from Texas. That's the guy,
places
the black guy
places
from
like
Texas.
Breitbart and stuff like
Mhm.
that were sort of behind the scenes, right? Now they're front and center. These ideas, these conspiracy theories, they're getting injected into the dialogue, and and that's what happens. Trumpism continues. It's slow. It's like David Frum
like
has
the
this good
virus.
line where he says, it's not like a heart attack. It's not like Nazi Germany, right? It's like a gum disease, right? It's slow and it happens over time. And that's how democracy would die in the United States. It would happen over an extended period of time, and like it is now. I mean, we have larger and larger groups of people believing in ridiculously insane conspiracy theories. We have people like the other day, for instance, this is something I could have never, ever imagined. I am still outraged at this. And it was like 2 days ago when the trucks were surrounding the Biden bus and they tried driving it off the road or whatever. They were harassing it clearly. And Trump later puts tweets that he loves Texas with that video. Like
Well, it was a separate video. To be fair, it was a separate video that didn't show the ramming, but it did show the Trump trucks surrounding the Biden bus.
right. And
Yeah, that's
Right,
how
but
we
now
hide behind
all they see, like all the Trump, the pro-Trump people have seen is the one that he tweets out,
And
and then
even
everybody
so,
else saw the original,
that. Yeah,
and they're just like saying, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," or they, you know,
Yeah,
that
it's the
Yeah,
same
I'm
thing.
about at my
Surface.
wit's end with the pretend ignorance, right? So who were they interviewing the other day? That psycho blonde Republican, maybe
McEnany?
possibly, yeah, where she's like, oh, I don't know anything about Trump saying grab him by the pee, right? I never heard of that.
Oh my God, she
Bullshit.
really said that.
Every
How is that
person
possible?
in the United States and probably the
Heard
Western
that.
world heard that.
that
That's
yeah.
a lie.
wasn't that was the Georgia candidate.
I don't know who it was.
Loeffler.
She should be executed
Oh, was
immediately.
it McEnany? Okay, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to say
I
the
mean,
wrong thing.
No,
This
it's
is
not.
the
It's not. It's not his.
Thank
Is she
God.
back from
secretary.
her COVID?
No, she's still dead.
She's still.
But aren't a lot of these things, these quote unquote lasting effects? Yeah, we're going to have some, but aren't a lot of them contingent upon that who gets elected in the Senate, who gets elected in the House? A lot of that is going to be a determining factor as well, whether or not these policies are going to go through or what's
Yeah,
going
the
to
Senate is a
elected.
huge deal.
I have a positive theory on that. Like if Trump loses and, you know, Facebook, Twitter, and all of the big social media conglomerates proceed to ban him immediately, and they will, and the Senate loses control, I think you're going to have a lot that sort of hung on to the Trump train who are suddenly going to change their tune. And, you know,
The
like
rats
Lindsey Graham, who's
abandoning the
amazing
ship.
with Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I just think they're going to try to change their tune to try to appeal back to
Of course.
the basic.
No, they're going to try and do
Which
George
hurt.
Bush or the Bushes, one of the Bushes.
Mm,
But
yeah,
I don't think they
yeah.
can. We had this question in one of the other podcast, which is
Well-
how much has he damaged the
Okay.
brand?
But what I'm trying to say is that if that type of leadership does this weird little flip flop after Trump loses and he loses the social media outlets and all of that jazz, I think that leadership will help draw back some of those Republican voters who voted for
Maybe.
Trump, not because they like his character, not because they like a lot of the things that he said, but because they believe he's done some good things, and those some good things are of high value to those people. And so
What-
like they're holding their noses. They're holding their nose and voting for Trump again, likely, but those voters will be easier to sort of bring back into the fold if they have the leadership to do it. But that's just a positive theory I have that's probably
So
hopeful. I should be.
Afra 2, what are you thinking?
Gosh, I've just been soaking in everything. If you're asking for a prediction, it looks like Biden, 320 to 240-ish or something like that. Anyway, it's going to be not a blowout, but not a hard call anyway. Again, assuming there is a reasonable amount of error from the in 2016, or at least was present in a different way. Like I said, all the polls uniformly in 2016 were about 3 to 5 points off. If that happens this time, it won't make a difference in Wisconsin or Michigan. Evidently, Biden's built up, humongous leads there. And that was 2/3 of the so-called blue wall, those two in Pennsylvania, which really put Trump over the top. During election night 2016, we were all saying, okay, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, those were in doubt, and he swept them, and it was over at that point. But it looks like at least two of them are not really in play right now. So yeah, from that standpoint, unless there's a whole lot of people wrong, it's going to be Biden. Now, where do we go from there? I've said this in other podcasts. I'll say it again now, with much better lipstick on than I had in the prior podcasts. I hope if he loses the White House, that the Republicans will control the Senate. I just want divided government. I don't give a damn how it's divided, because I get the feeling if it's Republicans, and even then they're not going to take the House back. There's just too much there. That's going to be not much of amount of a check. But if it's Democrat across the board, House, Senate, and White House, I think unfortunately there's going to be a lot of people who will be in a punishing mood. And God knows you can't really blame him. Trump is a prick. He is someone who begs for a fucking punch in the mouth at every corner. Yes, you'd love to be able to get back at somebody like that who has not only wronged you, but just rubbed your damn face in it for 4 years. And you would love to be able to get it back at something like that. Unfortunately, if you're doing it by means of government policy and whatnot, a whole lot of collateral damage is going to come into the fray there as well. It's not good governance, first of all. And second of all, a lot of innocent unintended bodies are caught up in the avalanche. So I don't want to see that. I can understand why it would be very, very tempting for Democrats to go scorched earth beginning January of 2021 with that unchecked power as far as executive and legislative is concerned. I hope the better angels of their nature will prevent them from, will allow them to see that what I've always believed, Trump is an aberration. Most of the people who are going to vote for him or have voted for him in 2020 are going to do so out of a sense of obligation, not out of a sense of enthusiasm. Now, that seems counterintuitive when you see the rallies. I ain't talking about those people. I'm talking about the moderate with conservative leans who see
That's why I was saying
Trump presidency as the least offensive alternative from a fiscal standpoint. They don't like the son of a bitch. They can't stand the son of a bitch, but he doesn't insult me and my family. He doesn't think I'm a rube. He doesn't think the people who work in my professions.
He does though.
Bunch of jobs. Well, he does.
He definitely does.
He does, but he does not. Well, at the very least, he does not say it.
I love the uneducated.
That Ashley was referring to that live in those sort of bubbles and they don't really get that outside news, and
Sure, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Sort of information bubble of.
I don't think you have to worry about the Biden administration going after Trump. The SDNY will.
And why? Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Like, Afra wants to respond to Afra. I'm gonna say again, and I know this is a very unpopular opinion, I do not like the idea of prosecuting former presidents.
It's
I just
dangerous.
don't. I think
It's a hard thing to
right.
get.
It's
Oh,
a
hard
very
thing to get
really,
into.
really
Exactly.
bad
Because
precedent.
then you open
Trump-
Obama up and Clinton
Yeah.
up to that.
Yeah.
It's not good.
And Trump deserves it. He's done a lot of really bad things, and he was a criminal before he even got into the White House and stuff like that. But once he gets there, I know it fucking sucks. Like, elections have consequences. You can't do it, because if you start doing it, and that's been probably my main problem with Trump and his administration this entire time. Like, it very unpopular amongst people on Facebook, at least, but like, you should not be campaigning on jailing your political rivals. That is not what the United
And
States
to Biden's
is.
credit,
That's
he
not
hasn't,
what we're
right?
supposed to be.
And
No, he
that's-
hasn't.
No, he
But
has
he
not
has.
done that, and I don't think that he
Right.
will. I can't say anything for what SDNY
they're
is
gonna-
going to do.
they're gonna-
or it's not even SDNY.
They're gonna take on
the
Trump
New York
Inc.
Attorney
at least.
General.
Yeah.
Now, I'll ask this
Right,
question.
fine.
What about a
That's
President
fine.
Harris? Do you think she would be interested in such a route?
Well, she's a cop, so
I don't
you know.
think so. I don't think she would do
Really?
it. I don't think so, because it just, but I also think that even if Trump loses, there is a certain normalization of rhetoric
Correct.
I don't know.
that is
I-
going to,
Do we-
it's going
we
to
put that
abide at least
Can we
amongst
put that
enough
toothpaste
people.
back in the container though? Because I mean,
It's a reasonable question, but if anybody will, don't you think Biden is that guy? I mean, he's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't
He
want to upset
probably
the apple
is,
cart.
yeah.
He doesn't want to go against tradition
Right.
and norms.
Well,
Now,
Trump is
will
certainly allowed the
will
Overton
Pelosi
window to
give it
go.
a shot? She might, right? I mean, she really despises that guy.
I mean,
Can she please
on her way
just
out
sit
soon,
down?
so why wouldn't
No,
she?
she cannot sit down.
So I don't think the federal government's going to prosecute Trump. I think they're going to leave him alone, and maybe
It's
the state of New York,
SDNY.
maybe the state of New
100%.
York will.
The state
Yeah,
of New York.
possibly,
But
definitely.
well-
I think there's three situations that could happen. I think Trump could somehow win, which would reaffirm everything he's done. It would be a horrible
Right.
situation. Think about the last 4 years
And we'll
Yeah.
write the
All of
script
the
for
things-
2024.
that has happened over the last 4 years, and people still vote for him. I mean, what does that say about us? What does that say about our country? What does that say about what we're going to allow the leader of our country to do? And then two other scenarios, he gets blown away. So if he gets blown away and the Senate goes to the Democrats, that's going to be, the Republican Party is going to have to reevaluate itself completely.
Total
In that
repudiation.
type of scenario, you're
Yeah,
looking at
no
people
chance.
questioning everything that Trump did. That is, I think, the best case scenario. I get Chuck's point about, well, the Democrats having total power. Maybe if it's
But
a
we
50-50
could do
thing.
that in 4 more years or something, but they do have to reevaluate, and there's a lot of components
Yeah.
that they have to reevaluate to meet the call of the times.
Right. And then there's the scenario where Biden kind of squeaks by or doesn't destroy him, at which point you're looking at a Republican Party probably split, a lot of sort of internal philosophical discussions. There are a lot of philosophical debates on the right now. I've sent you guys all kinds of links to them, although I'm not sure you actually watch them.
I'm
But they're really
exhausted,
interesting.
honestly.
I think I'm not getting the links.
Yeah.
You should
have to
add
Christina
you should add her
separately.
to the
Don't
group,
get
because
them
She has
I'm
told
not-
me she
I'm
wants
not in the
nothing to do
group.
with you people
No,
whatsoever.
I never
I'm
said
not
that.
in
She's like-
whatever group you guys are.
I
talking
think
about.
Ashley and Christina are just like, you know what? Whatever you guys want to say, that's on you.
I
Christina,
hear
now
it-
I'm going to
I
send
hear
you
it
all my
secondhand.
links, so get ready.
Thanks, Nick.
Oh, no.
I don't get them directly. I get them
So
third party.
Chuck, I have a
When
question.
Yeah.
Chuck, I have a question for you.
Ashley, do you have to log into the webpage to learn Nick's views?
No,
No,
Oh,
I
no.
think he
I
plays
suspect
them-
not.
I think Nick tells them to you before he posts them sometimes. I
Yeah.
think
It's like, Ashley, great stew. Let me tell you what I'm going to post right now.
When we were going to the Halloween store today, the entire ride there, I was explaining my various views to her, and she's like, "What the fuck?" Like, I talked for like 45 minutes, and she's like, "What are you fucking talking about?"
Yeah.
I asked
I was like, I asked one question.
And now
We
you're-
are
I
way
mean, that's a
over
legit
here and we're way
question.
over here.
and I'm like, I'm still
Yeah.
explaining the answer. I would do
Hello?
televised debate.
Chuck, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Trump had some period of time where he had all control, right?
Mhm.
Republican Congress, Republican Senate, somewhat Republican president, I guess. I don't know. But what did they get done? What did they get done legislatively?
They got
Because
tax cuts.
yeah, they did get the tax cuts, but
Yeah,
in
those are
terms
gone, by the way.
of a lot of other stuff, a lot of Republicans at that point, they
Judges.
had at least the political courage and the political backing to say, no, we're not going to do that.
Right.
Well, when the Democrats take over the lower chamber and you're holding a tenuous majority in the Senate, yeah, the party forces will kind of say, okay, you can dig your feet in later. Right now, we need to keep this vote.
I mean, how courageous do you think the Democratic Party really is?
Oh, now that I can't answer. I have no idea.
Not very. Let's just
well.
say not very. Yeah. I think
But
that's
yeah,
safe. So
and
I don't
another
think
thing-
they're going to go hog wild and do ACA 2,
Right.
and Medicare. They're definitely not doing Medicare for all, right?
I'm,
Maybe Biden 2, but I don't think so.
I think
But
from my standpoint, just just a conservative leaning libertarian, I hope that Trumpism is not confused with conservatism. I fear it will be by a whole lot of people, and
I
that
think so,
will sour the conservative movement for more than a generation. If
Good.
people who are not
I mean,
necessarily
sorry.
conservative will look at it and say, "Oh, conservative, you must like
No,
Donald Trump."
it's not. It's
Fuck
not good.
you.
It's not good. You need at least two functioning parties,
Yeah.
and the Republicans right now are
Functioning.
Turds?
basically a cult of personality, and the Democrats are just they're playing the short game, all the
Thank you.
time. Like I don't think that they're just thinking about keeping everybody's heads above water.
Thank you.
And that's not helpful. What's helpful, and I think what Chuck says is important, to have a divided government is important, but there are a few things that are an issue. First of all, if you have a divided government that includes a Senate majority leader who prevents votes on everything, that's not a divided government. That is a government that is stalled, that cannot accomplish anything. So if Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Mitch McConnell or whoever can just say, I am not going to allow people to hold this vote because I don't want it to affect them in the next election, which could be 6 fucking years from now. It's not a functioning government. It might be a government that, and I see why this is valuable to conservatives, that is unable to do anything, but they're essentially they have their hands tied behind their back. So a divided government, I think, is like, it is generally a good thing. But when the government is divided, but the individual chambers are still ruled autocratically, which is what we have.
I love
Like
term
the
limits.
president is, the
Good
president
Exactly,
is an
Chuck.
autocrat over the executive branch, and the Senate majority leader is autocratic over the Senate. When that's happening, then you have no change whatsoever, which could be good, but we're in a situation. 2020 is an unusual situation. You've got a pandemic. You've got all of this unrest in the streets. You have absolutely no trust in government by most people, and a fucking cult, like in the executive branch. It's like legit a cult. So
Well,
Yeah,
we've seen
you're
the
not wrong.
We've seen the results.
This is a big problem, and I think that just thinking about what the ideal is in a rational electorate with a rational government is a divided government. But what does that look like in reality right now? It's not functioning the way that I would like a divided government to function.
First,
Yes.
nice fluff, Chuck. That was awesome.
What?
I really like that. That was.
What
I have
I
a
say?
question for Afra. but
How in
I'll-
the hell y'all deal
Yeah.
with this kind of hair? Jesus.
We can't deal with it. That's the thing.
Are you actually going to add something of substance?
No,
or
go ahead,
can I
Chuck.
jump
No,
in?
go ahead, Neil.
Wait, but Afra, can I just ask you?
Yeah.
Do you,
No.
would you agree with term limits for Senate?
For Senate?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought about term limits. I think about, I mean, probably.
Come on, sister,
I-
be with me now. It's term limit.
Chuck, honestly,
Chuck is up in there going, yeah.
I think you
girl.
mean Afra too.
right now,
Afra
yes,
too.
Afra-
No, but I want to know
Afra's
from actual
phone.
Afra
Afra-
because
I cannot think of an argument against term limits at this point.
I can.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Rock. Okay, Heather and Mark.
No, Heather.
I
Are you moderating now?
No,
I
I'm
like
not
that.
moderating, but I want. Sorry, everyone.
I feel ignorant. I
I don't
can't
know.
answer this question.
about freshman politicians and the fact that you kind of need some more seasoned politicians working with you.
They're horrible.
And so when
those
you think
freshmen.
about how many terms you're going to allow them to have, maybe we could limit it to 3 at least. That wouldn't be that long, but it would be long enough so that the incoming senators would have something to learn from and learning the ropes. and
That would
everything.
be
I think
18
that's
years.
important. Yeah, but I mean,
Three-
think about it as less. Like,
That's
is
good. I
12
like it.
enough? Is 12 enough?
Right.
Like, hey,
All right.
No,
So,
I agree with you. I actually was involved in government work at some point in
we
my
forgive you.
the mists of time.
Boo.
She
Yeah,
worked
I
for a
know, as
lobbyist.
lobbyist.
Yeah. Woof.
Oh,
oh,
I know.
It's so
Believe me, I-
sexy,
I can
but
barely-
also like
I can
every
barely
time I came
restrain
home
myself
from
from throwing her out of my house.
no, he's like not wanted to throw me out of his house. But okay, legit. There was a lot of nonsense stuff that happened, but you need to have those relationships. And those relationships don't happen in 6 years.
that's right. Yeah.
So, and I'm talking about across the aisle relationships. It's not just, my guy who agrees with me and I'm going to do deals with him.
Mhm.
You
right.
need to, you guys, right?
Yeah.
Do deals with people who are across the aisle.
Yeah.
We have lost that. That's not happening right now.
No,
it's
that
not
makes a lot
happening
of
without
sense.
term
like-
limits, that's for damn sure. But,
And-
see how it will happen.
100%, Chuck.
Yeah.
Abra,
Like think
right?
think about your relationships at work and the ones that tend to work out the best are people who have been together for a long period of time. Like that
Mhm.
doesn't mean somebody needs to be in the Senate for 45 years, but it does
Yeah.
mean that they need to be there for a
And
long
fights.
time I mean, I can't imagine what how many years it must take to find your feet and to find your sphere of influence. in
13 and a
inside
half.
the US Senate.
Absolutely.
Sure,
13 and a
Mark,
half.
it's exactly 13 and a half.
That's what I've calculated that. Yeah.
I'd be a
So
little
like
bit-
I'm open to learning about this, but I don't know.
So Chuck,
Hmm.
I think the result of divided government today with Mitch McConnell in charge of the Senate
Mhm.
has been exactly antithetical to your philosophy, which is expansion of presidential power.
Yes,
Right?
oh, I agree. I have said 1,000 times, Congress is the most guilty for Congress having abdicated a great deal of its authority. The founders
But if they
of
pass
Congress as the-
zero legislation in an entire year,
Mhm.
you can't be super surprised if the president resorts to
Power-
executive
Power
orders.
affords a
right?
vacuum. I understand that.
Yeah.
And I do understand the idea that Congress has turned over a lot of that authority. And let's face it, it's easy rather than going through the cumbersome process of trying to get 535 people to agree on an environmental regulation. Just have the EPA write it up. Tomorrow it's in the books and
That's right.
it has
Administrative law,
force
right?
of law. Exactly. But that's laziness on Congress's part. That's one congressional action that I think should be taken if they're going to take any action. That's if the EPA puts that regulation into their books right now, you have no appeal. There's nothing you could do other than maybe try to go through Congress to overturn it, but it's in there now. That person that group in the EPA that put it in, you didn't vote for them. Nobody voted for them. That's an executive branch function. So yeah, I see what you're saying about there is a downside to a do nothing Congress. I understand in that respect. Power reports a vacuum, and the executive branch will jump in to seize some of that power. I still love gridlock, though. I remember back in the early 90s when Congress would convene, I got nervous every day. What the fuck are you guys going to take away from me today?
Yeah,
What's it going to be today? And
Vampire Nick, please.
But not only that,
Nick,
I mean,
weigh in.
having a House, a Senate, and a president that are all Democrats are going to expand government more than a Republican House, Senate, and president, even though they didn't necessarily limit presidential power, right? So that's number one. Number two, if the Democrats had the Senate and the president, and the president was a Republican and the House were Republicans, Chuck Schumer would be blocking everything too. It's not any different under Mitch McConnell. It's the same thing. We're just super divided right now. So I don't really think that Mitch McConnell's the problem. I think that the division and lack of compromise is the problem. And I think that comes from both parties sort of shifting to their fringes, right? And being more and more uncompromising, which doesn't work in a democracy, right? In a democracy, you have to be able to work together. And we're just not there anymore. I don't think it has to do with one specific person.
Mitch McConnell.
So
No, it's not just Mitch McConnell.
It is
Nancy
100%
Pelosi, too.
just Mitch. No, it's
No.
100%
No.
Mitch McConnell.
No,
Yes,
that's demonstrably wrong.
it's not.
Afra had touched on something that I was thinking too, and I think we should be giving more thought to this. What happens to the Democratic Party if Biden wins or if Biden loses? Where do we go from here? Because
So this is
because
what
we're
I'm
talking about all of the conservative issues, but we're not yet reflecting on where do we go from here? Because for instance, like Democrats, okay, so
That's
we
where
don't
we
have
go.
a populist candidate in Biden, obviously, right? He's not a populist candidate like
Thank
Trump is.
God.
So we're not out there with our flags and everything.
The IQ of the group just went up.
There's a little
There's
human.
a human. It's a small human. Sorry, Heather.
Hey, mask
Sorry,
up,
Heather.
bro.
No, he takes the ship. Absolutely. Oh, hi.
Sorry,
sweetheart.
girl.
What up?
Oh my God, loving him.
Oh.
Who is that, Afra?
This is my third baby.
Yes.
Oh my
My
God, girl.
third little tiny
Congratulations on 3 in a row.
boy. I got 3 boys.
God help you.
That's the way to do it.
They're insane.
Air and a spare and a spare.
So I just was trying to say that that a lot of people aren't necessarily super excited about Joe Biden. Like, but for me, even as a progressive,
Good.
somebody who wanted Bernie Sanders, I'm still able to say, like, yes, I think Joe Biden's going to do a good job. I'm 100% behind him. I don't have all of these major hangups that you see a lot of my progressive, quotation
Bernie
marks
or bust.
yeah, the Bernie or bust movement folks or whatever. Like, I get that he has some record issues. I think a lot
I
of
want to
candidates
fight
do.
them. All
But
of them.
I just don't see him and his character the same way I felt about Hillary Clinton. And we can talk about disinformation in 2016 too, if you want to. But my point is that a lot of us are voting for Joe Biden because he is the choice to get rid of Trump, and we are that sick of Trump. And in 4 years from now, like, we can beat back Trump right now. Let's say Biden wins, but what the hell are we gonna? So sorry. What are we going to do?
We
I think
don't
he doesn't
censor in
understand
this
hell
house.
yet.
We don't censor. The kids
Yeah.
know.
All right, good.
What are we going to
F-bomb,
do in 4
F-bomb,
years?
F-bomb.
Fuck Trump. Okay.
Oh, and
Aha! Yay, girl.
what the fuck are
I feel seen right
Weird.
now.
in 4 fucking years, after Biden is gone and then we've had a Kamala VP and we see whatever panel we're going to get, like, where do the Democrats go from here? Because there is a yearning for some more progressive issues out there.
I know,
There's still
I
a
know.
yearning for this.
I
Yeah.
know. Are
All
you
right.
ready? Girl,
Yes.
are you ready?
Yes.
It's going to shift
Don't
slightly
say
to the
white
left.
nationalism.
Lift.
It's going to shift. It's going to shift slightly to the
shift.
left.
And the other thing I
That's
want to
it.
say is where do the Republicans go, and what happens to the Republican Party? I foresee this shift as we go into the future, where it's more of a progressive versus centrist ideal.
Yes.
And hopefully
I
get rid
agree.
of-
Heather, I cannot agree more.
Well,
I
maybe you
brought
could.
this up. No, I'm super jumping in here because there were
Why
many
not?
weeks
Don't
of
do it.
podcasting where people were writing into the comments like, Christina might have something to say,
No.
but she just had a very bad connection.
Look,
Sorry, everyone.
Who's the talent on our
Here
podcast?
I come. All right, so here's what I have to say. I think the Republican Party goes the way of the Whigs. I think that it breaks
The Whigs?
apart. The
Oh,
Whigs.
That's right.
Or the Federal. Yeah, well, you and me both, Chuck. Mine's a little bit
the one with
higher
the-
quality,
I hope so.
but
Here's my wig. Do you like it?
feeling cute. Might wear this wig again sometime.
Me too.
Um,
That's
Wow,
very
Chuck.
That's very personal. So
I mean, all right. So I think that at a certain point here, the Republican Party has to go away. And there's going to be a far right group of weirdos who are off there. They become, Mark disagrees with me completely. Please stop shaking your
oh,
head.
sorry.
But I think that we at some point end up with, the Republicans break apart like the Whigs, like the Federalists, and all of a sudden we have this other party that is slightly centrist from where the Republicans are. And then we're up against the Democrats because we have to have a two-party system. We have to.
I feel like they go slightly more moderate, bleed off Hispanics, and stay the way they are otherwise.
Well, they may still call themselves the Republicans.
Oh, they 100% will.
But it's going to be a demonstrably, from a historical perspective, different party. Sorry, just
Not even
saying what
close.
I'm feeling.
As
There
far
you
as the Democratic Party goes, here's my position. If the country is becoming more progressive, which it is probably over a period of time, and you want to continue to win, you need to slow down. So if the Democrats, let's say they take all two houses in the presidency, and they come in and they do some crazy extreme stuff, which they might do. And, they put a lot of political pressure on Biden. They end up passing whatever, some outrageous, leftist idea.
Medicare for all.
Yeah. Tuition-free college, the Green New Deal.
Yeah. So it's going to set
Yeah,
a lot
horrible.
of people off. Right. It's going to turn a lot of people off.
I'm thinking they ban racism.
Whoa,
Just ban,
No
like,
way.
Gulags.
Who knew it could
free,
be
free to be white nationalist.
So
go. What the hell?
Sorry, Nick, go ahead, please.
So-
Continue on your own podcast. Yeah.
So in any event, I think it would be a really big mistake for them to do that. I think they turn off essential voters in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, where people are more moderate. You don't win national elections like this. You don't win the Senate by being an extreme party. What you do is you get things pushed through in short periods of time that people don't necessarily like. And then all of a sudden you get Trump, right? That's what happens. So I think we need to slow things down. I think
You think that's how we got Trump, by pushing things through too quickly?
No.
I think
Okay.
Would you like to ask me how we
Well,
think?
I
How you
mean,
think we got Trump?
Here's the
I
thing.
have a
like,
theory.
we got
By the way,
Trump came out during the campaign. Let's just take like the reproductive rights thing, for instance, and said there should be punishment for the woman. And this is what I've been saying. And now we're 4 years later, and punishment for the woman for abortions is really starting to catch steam. So that's that sort of rhetorical power issue. But I mean, here's the thing, and Nick, you could be totally right. You probably are, but you're right in the sense that this applies to Democrats only, right? You could be if you're going to come out and say, well, if it's a legitimate rape, it all gets shut down. Like that guy lost in 2012, but in 2016, the one who came out and said that there should be punishment for the woman in cases of abortion won. So extremism is still valued in the Republican Party. I'm not going to say on the right because I don't believe that's the case on the right, but for people who are lockstep Republican voters, because they've always voted Republican, they do not shy away from extremism. The issue is that Democrats, and again, not liberals, not leftists, but Democrats do shy away from extremism.
But look what's happened. But look what's happened to the Republican Party for doing that. They got wiped out.
They're winning. They own the whole. They got wiped out in Congress 2 years ago.
I'm saying
but 4 years ago they gave them the entire government. The country gave them the entire government. It was so depressing to me. I will never forget it.
Yes.
Okay. But now they're being wiped out of office, and that's sort of where I stand on this. I think that if you, I mean, Trump is a whole different ballgame, right? He brings to the table lots of other questions that aren't policy. But if the Democrats go in there and they start passing radical policies, people are going to see that and it's going to scare them or it's going to turn them off. And all I'm saying is slow the process down. Let's work on trying to unify the country a little bit, right? We don't have to appeal to the Canaan people because I don't think that's worth it, right? But we can appeal to moderate Republicans, right? Conservatives, people like that.
Did you just call them Canaan?
Yeah, we've been through this. It's QAnon.
I like it. No. I'm going with Canaan from now on.
I think I like it too.
That's it.
Path of Canaan.
Canaan. It sounds like a barbarian here.
I think that
whatever.
part of
Canaan the barbarian.
Putting all that aside,
don't laugh, Heather. Please stop.
Putting all that aside, I think a good part of this is that most of Trump's extremist policies, I hear you whispering. I hear you.
I know. I want to rewind
have been through the executive branch rather than through Congress, which gives sort of plausible deniability to most Republican candidates.
Exactly.
Because like all the wall stuff and the dreamers, like, I mean, I teach and my students are really upset about the treatment of the dreamers, like whether they're citizens, documented, immigrants, third generation, it doesn't fucking matter. They're really upset because they all know someone.
What generation are your students?
They're Z.
Yeah, those are my kids. My youngest.
I hate those guys with the TikTok and everything.
Yeah, and they are the younger generations coming up are so extremely progressive. It even scares me, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
very
a little
more
bit unrealistically progressive.
Well, they're kids. How realistic were you when you were 18 and thinking about politics?
Yeah, like 18.
I was thinking about where can I go.
No, but
to
like
get a cocktail.
True story.
When I was 18, so
I've been teaching for like 16 years, and when I started, my students were far more conservative than I am. Far more conservative. I would argue all the time that these, and they would have been at that point sort of younger millennials or like mid-generation millennials, that they were more disposed to take the moderate or conservative position than at any other time. And it's really only been in the last 4 years since Trump that my students are far, far more liberal than I am.
Like they're writing in Bernie. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
for those of us who are in academia or teaching, where are we teaching? Because I was teaching in the Bible Belt. I was in at UNC at Chapel Hill.
Oh,
and then before that at UVA, which is even more conservative.
Probably,
Where, like, conservative students, not the teachers.
Well, a lot of my teaching
peers,
thank God.
We were all very left leaning. So I'm wondering, like, where is everyone teaching? I feel like the academy is left, right? Like, Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, no, I would say definitely my colleagues being left, but my students not so much. Like I taught,
Really? But I thought didn't you just say your students are really progressive?
Now, but
Not
it's
before.
I'm saying it's like a very recent phenomenon. I felt like my 18-year-old students came, I mean, because they're not coming from this, like from experience with the academy, they're coming directly out of their households,
Their parents,
you know, where their parents are and stuff. So where I live is like a kind of a little red pocket in a very blue state, but I also teach in Missouri. I've taught at tech schools, I've taught at big state schools, I've taught at small liberal arts colleges, elite and not elite, and it was pretty much, I would get students who would come right out of their households or their towns, wherever they were coming from, and they tended to be relatively conservative, and now they're definitely not.
Nick,
but Chuck,
Nick, do you think
Chuck is a homeschooler. Talk to us about that. What like, do you bring a political perspective?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Oh, Chuck's frozen.
I'll get you. Am I still here?
Yes, yeah. There you are.
Okay, cool.
I'm curious, Chuck, because I had a lot of Afra, have you had homeschool students come into your classrooms?
Yeah, I've had homeschool students.
And did you super discriminate against them?
No.
No,
you would never. No, you want to bring. They're one of the best.
No.
They are.
Discussers, right?
No. my classes are.
It's almost like I make jokes.
I would only make them use the opposite gender's bathroom just to.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? You're a girl today.
You're a G.
Yeah, you're a G.
Guys, I gotta actually get going.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is actually dropping the hammer on you here? Actually, can you hold the scepter for a second and command us to stop?
That's awesome.
Sorry, everyone.
So,
I like it.
Does anybody have any final thoughts on the election they want to spew out?
I do.
Oh, fuck no.
I do.
I have nothing.
Oh, here comes Heather.
I didn't actually say what I think is going to happen with the election.
Please.
I still don't think that it's going to be a blowout, and I think it's going to be a few days of national chaos and pockets of ridiculousness going on. I think that Trump supporters are going to be blocking polling because they're going to be out there in their brigades and blocking people from getting home from work to go vote and everything. I think if I have anything to say to people, it's go vote now. Do not wait until Tuesday. Do it now. There are so many ballots.
What the hell?
There's
You didn't literally mean now.
Yeah, right. But there's so many ballots that have not been returned yet, and there's a lot of registered voters that have not done it yet where they have the capability to. I think it's really important to get this done now because there is so much counting that's going to go on this year. I think there's a lot of nonsense that's going to go on this year. There's some court issues going on still. I don't think it's wise to sit home and wait until election day. I think that this year is just too important, and I think that we're going to have so much chaos going on that I don't think we're going to get results on the night of. I think it's going to last for a couple days, and I think we're going to have nonsense, and the news is going to be wild. So,
Here.
Vote Heather 2020.
Fuck the fuck up, you guys.
Yeah,
and I don't have any predictions on whether or not Trump or Biden ends up taking it because of that. And I want to be hopeful, but I'm so nervous about it. I'm so nervous.
It's going to be, I think, with early voting and some of the questions about that, because we're having it in to such a degree that we've never ever seen it before.
Yeah. Yep.
Just,
I think we lost you, Chuck.
Chuck, we miss you already.
Chuck. Oh, that was the best Halloween costume ever.
There you go.
Why, thank you.
There it is.
I guess my wife's going to want this back now. So.
All right, guys. So
you're sealing the good lipstick, Chuck.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it. Nice having you here.
Thanks for having us, Nick.
Yes. Just this once. I mean, never again, but you know, whatever.
We might all be in the gulag tomorrow. So.
Nick, you say that you're not going to be on Facebook on November 3rd, but I know.
Oh, he 100% will be on
100% He's
Facebook.
gonna be on there.
Get
Are
real,
you serious
dog.
right now?
I'll write one post.
One post.
Yeah, okay. Look in the chat box. It'll be there.